opportunity to cash. Welcome on
Thank
stage,
you.
and the stage for the next 30 minutes yours.
Okay, thank you so much. Hello, can you hear me? Yes, okay. Okay, so yes, I'm Miledy Perez, and the e-commerce manager for Halliburton. We're responsible for the Halliburton electronic invoicing globally. On the order-to-cash process, we responsible for the B2B deployments as well to the business-to-government deployments. I have led multiple business-to-government deployments such as Argentina, Mexico, Colombia, Bolivia, Egypt, and the most recent that we just completed was Malaysia. Right now, our company is in the middle of S4HANA system upgrade. So Steven and I are leading that project for Halliburton globally on the e-billing process.
Right. I'm Steven Batten with Halliburton, Supervisor over Global E-Invoicing. Been with Halliburton for over 13 years, started as a field engineer, then went into field ticketing in the office, and after that, been with the E-Invoicing group since then. Worked on numerous B2B integrations, so we're going to go over a B2G today integration, which is quite a lot more complex than the normal B2B integration. During my time so far in the E-Invoicing group, worked on a project with India tax integration where we had to convert all values from USD to the local currency, and also worked on integration with KSA, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where we had to translate the English to Arabic. Just like Miledy said, I'm working on the S4 project. That's something exciting that's happening at Halliburton. We're getting to work with all the different applications, among those OpenText and Salesforce, to help get the upgrade implemented across the globe. Starting off, we'll just talk about the agenda. So this is on the supplier side, so we're doing the order to cash, so it's all on the invoicing side. We'll go over the overview of a business government integration, challenges and risks, the deliverables, our standardized approach that we apply that we've learned from issues that we've encountered to all of our integrations, B2G integrations. So we'll go over that along with the key takeaways. So overview of business government integration. So how do we define a business to government integration? We define that it's mandated by the federal taxing authority, requiring us to send certain fields in our invoices in an automated fashion. And in that, something else that defines it is we're required to use a third party to get our invoices formatted and validated in a fashion that's acceptable to the taxing authority. And in that, in order to have a PDF, we work with our third-party vendor, eCommerce, to convert our certified invoice into a PDF that we can put in our invoice support pack and send to our customer. So some of the things that make these integrations significant for oil and gas suppliers are invoices have to be certified before we can send it to the customer, or otherwise we'll get a rejection. So we have to adhere to all the fields and populate all the necessary information to get our invoices certified. Reasons why the governments are doing this, or taxing authorities are doing this, is to reduce fraud, revenue recognition, and also VAT compliance across all market sectors. Some things that are unique for these integrations for us is plain and simple. If we don't get our invoices certified, we won't get paid. So they're going to, of course, reject our invoices. And we have to transmit all of our invoices to our customers and still keep it in an automated fashion once we get the invoices certified. And all federal.
I'm sorry. More? Oh, yeah.
Well, anyway, something unique about these integrations are, this has been said numerous times, but the federal regulations aren't static. They change. A lot of times we'll go live with the customer, and 6 to 12 months down the road, they'll come up with the new regulations. And so that requires us always have a contingency plan to send the invoices had we, majority of the times, these are tight timelines and with a hard go live. Just going over, all of our integrations we've done across the globe. We started off, we did Colombia, then we did Mexico, did India, and then Egypt, and then Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We did Italy, Bolivia, and most recently we did integrated Malaysia for business to government.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the challenges and risks that we have seen with these business to government deployments. One of the key factors here is the coordination that requires from this type of deployments. We have to meet with the local country, and we have to involve all the teams, such as tax, IT, finance, and sales operations, so that we can understand all the business requirements, understand their process, so that we can provide the support they need. Another key factor here on this type of deployments are the change management process. They used to do the manual invoice, and now they have to learn the automation process. So we have to explain to them what is the current process today versus what is going to be the future. And one of that change is that we have to training and define those roles and responsibilities and get it ready for the new process. So it's a significant change management, and that's one of the big challenges that we have. Another challenge that we have seen for these type of deployments, because it's an automation, what we have seen in all these tax authorities is every tax authority for each country requires a unique set of requirements that, what we've seen for India is totally different what we've seen in Egypt. And then when we did Malaysia, it was a different set of requirements as well. So every country not only have a set of unique requirements, but what we also seen is what they require today, it's not the same what they're gonna require when they go to these automations. So that creates a challenge to us, even to our ERP system, because a perfect example was in Egypt. They required this tax code to our materials that didn't exist in our SAP system. So we have to work with our technical team. We have to build those requirements to make sure that we can transmit that in our XML. Sometimes we work with Edicon as well. They're helpful with us on that. They create the logic. They help us to see if there's something they can do for us, if we don't have to implement it. We try to do that. So to minimize any changes on our system. So that's a very challenging thing that we have seen based on our experience for all the countries that we have implemented. Every country, the XML is unique. What is in Argentina is totally different in Colombia and Egypt, Malaysia, and Saudi. And the last one, but not the least, is we have seen that these tax authorities and these business to government deployments are not static, so they change. So we have seen where a perfect example was Colombia. We have deployed many years ago Colombia, but in the past 5 years, we have like 2 or 3 changes. The last one we had last year for Colombia, tax authority decided to change the invoicing requirement, where now they were requesting to have invoices submitted in local currency, regardless of US dollar invoices. So we bill the customer in US dollar, but we have to report in local currency. So that was a change that we have to make in our system. Right now, we're working with Edicon for Argentina. The Argentina Tax Authority added some new requirements on the E-Invoicing, so we also have to work on those. So those are the things that it never ends. So the Tax Authority keep making those changes. So here we're gonna share with you what are our key deliverables and how we've been successful with all our countries that we have deployed. We design our country-specific FIDES XML. We work with Edicon to create that specific certified PDF invoice based on the tax authority requirements. We also work with our internal stakeholders. We create a functional mailbox for the archiving process on the invoices, regardless to what they have on the portal, but we help them with that for archiving process purposes. Sorry. We also work with Edicon and our internal stakeholders to train them how to use the portal and also teach them the dispute process as a whole new process for them. If invoices get rejected by the tax authority, what do we do about it? What are we supposed to do? So we train them how to do that. And of course, we have the help for Edicon to help us with that training as well. We also prepare a communication plan to our internal and external stakeholders. We prepare them so that we can get ready for go live to this type of project. And after we go live, we continue to provide support. So our team is not only responsible for the deployment, but we also support them after we go live. If it's any changes or if something, the tax authority is making changes, we always provide support for them.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to go over, something that really makes us successful in all of our integrations is we've done enough of them that we've learned lessons, got lumps on our head from things we could have done differently. And part of that is and we've come up with this standardized approach, and one of which is we start off, we work with Edicom to get us all the mandatory fields and optional fields. And in that, we're able to identify what's in our system, what we have of the mandatory fields that's already in our ERP, and we'll work with Edicom to say, okay, well, we don't have them in our ERP, we need to figure out how to get them to the government on those required fields. And then work through the mapping process where we say, okay, we've got these fields here, here's all our fields, here's the fields that we need y'all to provide to them, and then we'll go through a process of where we map those fields from our PIDEX XML to the field that Edicom can pick up and pass on to the government for certification. Another very important part of our standardized approach that we feel has made us very successful is we always have our workshops in the country of where the tax integration is occurring. There's nothing like being face-to-face. You end up building a rapport with the people in the country, whereas if it's a Teams call and you're working this integration, there's always something, and they could be holding back because it's easier to pull out those testing scenarios that we desperately need to make integration successful in the country in these workshops. During these workshops, we work on, here's the scope of our project, here's all the required fields. We determine how do we want our standardized PDF to look. So we work through that and get all the information from them on, hey, this is how our customers want the PDF, but then we've got to work with them to explain to them that, we're going to have a standardized PDF. We're not going to be able to send a different PDF to every single customer. And so, and a lot of that, it's easier for us in these countries because we were saying, well, it's mandated by the government. So that's one part that helps us explain all this. During the in-country workshops, we would also go over, dispute mitigation process and say current state versus future state. A lot of these countries, they're used to a manual process, emailing invoices or keying invoices into a portal for whatever customer it is. For instance, Ramco, I think they were entering those invoices in there, but now it's a whole totally different process where it's automated. We send our invoices in automated fashion to the third-party vendor, Edicom, and then they would, if it rejected, we get an automated response back to our ERP where we have to train them, like, okay, we have to log into SAP and figure out why this invoice rejected. A part of that is also training the in-country personnel to how to log into the portal, because at times they can look at their own invoices, make sure they made it, or validate or determine if I got a rejection in our system. How am I going to fix this? They can actually log into the portal. Part of our process, before we can do any testing, we have to configure every single customer across the whole country in our test system. We go through, as much testing as possible, and then working with the in-country personnel, we determine, okay, we've tested everything across the board, and we make sure they're happy with everything working and that they're ready to go live. So at that point, we would configure the production and set everything to go live and have a go live date where we provide hypercare for the project. And in that hypercare, what that consists of is we have a large number of invoices, and we bypass one by one. Once we validate that, okay, all the invoices, all the different scenarios have made it in the production environment, then and only then do we check with everybody, all our stakeholders. Is everybody good with releasing the hold and turn the project over to support?
Key takeaways. Okay, so yeah, I just summarized what we talk about. I think we missed one. No, oh no, we did good. Sorry, it's just not making sure. Okay, so the key takeaways is, just to summarize what we talk about it. Business to government deployments are the most complex ones. We have done B2B and business to government so that we can see the difference. Even we training our team as well to get the knowledge it's a set of unique skills and knowledge to be able to deploy these countries. And of course, you're learning as you go to every country that you deploy. And of course, having your service provider, it's helpful. Working with Edicon has been very helpful. And as I think one of the presenters earlier mentioned, once you had that service provider, they have worked for you. They know exactly how your system works, how your processes work, even though it's different countries, but it just helps a lot. And we have been successful with Edicom from that perspective. And they're the one who get invoice certified to the tax authority. Another key takeaway here is the complexity, the change management that involved for this process. I think it's a recommendation, if you have any of your customers doing these international deployments, I would highly recommend kind of what Steven said. One of the key successful things, we are in the Houston office, our headquarters. My whole team, e-commerce team, is in Houston. We support globally, Halliburton globally. So we do meet with the country. We get that relationship with them. So they know us. I mean, if India, Asia, all these countries that we have deployed, we build that relationship, and it helps us to have be able to, like Steven said, tell us exactly how their business is, the process, and we very successful in our UAT, and when we go live, we hardly get any invoices rejected because we build that relationship with them, and of course, working with our trading partner, Edicon, has helped us to be successful. Another key takeaway, as I mentioned before, was that the tax authorities always making changes, so just be aware of that, be prepared. Sometimes we have to find workaround solutions, but we also work with Edicon from that perspective. So I think we already talked about the key deliverables. I'm not going to repeat that. Key milestones, I would say gather the requirements, configure your system, perform UAT testing as much as you can, prepare for go live, and provide the go live support to your stakeholders. That's I think is the key for us. And with that, I guess we're open for questions. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there any questions? Yes, there are.
Okay. We take turns.
Here you go.
Two questions, please. Could you again explain what the certified PDF invoice is? Is that when you have like a QR code on it, or what do you mean by that?
So we have our SAP ERP invoice, but then what we do is that gets converted into X-Spides XML. Then with the XML, there's some additional requirement from the tax authority that we may not have in our ERP system, but we work with Edicon. They help us to get that information there if we don't have it. They help us to get that there in that invoice, and then So they transmit this XML to the tax authority, gets certified, and then we at eCom, we have built the logic, okay, we want this, our SAP invoice, plus the tax authority requirements, anything else that is needed, and then that's the one that gets certified by the tax authority, and then they convert that in the PDF and send it to us with the QR code, because the customer wants to see the PDF. Even though they're required to have the XML or the JSON file, depending on what the tax authority requires, they still want to see that PDF certified invoice besides our ERP PDF
All right,
invoice.
thank you.
You're welcome.
What I noticed was that you wrote that you're archiving the PDF, and I was thinking, but the XML is the invoice that you're sending to the receiver. So aren't you then just archiving a copy of the actual invoice rather than
We're
the invoice
archiving
itself?
everything. We're archiving the XML, the PDF, all that gets on that email that we get.
All right, I didn't understand. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. No, thank you.
There was
Are
a
you-
second question.
Can I go, Steven? I give it to you. Sorry.
Hi, just one generic question because colleagues stole one of my own already. You listed some of the interesting countries here. Which one of them proved to be most difficult to comply to? If you can name one.
Which one will you say
Most
for you?
difficult, probably, I know, talking with Miledy, it seems like every new integration comes, it's the most difficult, so. But I think India with the conversion, also Malaysia, so any integration that we've done where we've had to, convert to the local currencies, the most challenging. I know KSA, we had to translate from English to Arabic, but I think the conversion, any integration that we had to do a conversion on was the hardest.
Yeah, the tax authority, I would say from the Middle East, we're gonna get ready for UAE to go live, so we're already getting prepared. The good news is we had done it now, so we know what to do. But I remember when India came, India was one of the first tax authorities that mandated the local currency invoices. So we didn't have that in our system because you can only invoice either US dollar or local currency, but you cannot have both currency in the same invoice. Well, so we built that in our middleware system so that we are able to provide those two currencies. So that was, I would say that was the most challenge when we did that with India the first time. But then we had done it for other countries as well. So Egypt, Malaysia, they're all now getting that as a standard requirement. Thank you. Good questions. Very good questions.
Wait a second.
There we go. Yeah, sorry. So any kind of change in master data that you had to do, how long did that take you? Because I'm assuming you're kind of a beast, trying to turn around, such a large corporate. So how hard it was and how long did that take you for, just roughly on average for each country?
The whole deployment or just the code changes for to gain?
Just like, if you had either missing master data or stuff that you had to change in your system, kind of roughly how long did that take you?
So one thing that we do, we try to build the logic with Edicon. So if Edicon can put that logic for us, that we don't have to touch the system, we go with that route, which can go within days. It's quicker. Now, if there's some significant changes on the master data, which it happens most of the time, then we work with our technical team, and that could take, depending on the complexity on the requirement, it could take within 8 weeks, 3 months to 6 months, just depending on the complexity. But I would say, because we prioritize this project and we have specific IT people dedicated for these projects, they're trying to do it within 2 to 3 months, but sometimes we have seen where it could get extended depending on the complexity. Now, to complete this country as a whole, it could take us 6 to 12 months.
Right. And so just a follow-up question on that. Did you use an e-invoicing implementation into a particular country? to do some sort of a cleanup of your master data at the same time? Because most clients that I've seen usually is not the greatest state in terms of their master data. Their customer, their suppliers, their product, is not greatly, in a great state. So have you used that as an opportunity to kind of try to do some kind of cleansing in there, or you can just try to get it over the line for that particular country?
The master data?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're in the middle of S/4HANA, and one of the things they're doing right now is they're doing like an enhancement in our master data in our ERP system. We think in the future we should not see that many customization that we have to do. That's the goal. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of times there's stuff inside SAP that we can't get across, so we're having, no matter what, we're having to leverage eCommerce to populate that master data in there.
We try to minimize changes in our system, so that's what we try to use our service provider for that, and it's been very successful. So, but you want to standardize that, I agree with you. It's just depending on the country.
All right. Thank you very much
Thank
again
you.
for your great
Thank you
presentation
so much. Thank
and
you.
for being with us.